The skies darkened over Seoul on a Tuesday morning. Not from rain clouds, but from something much worse. People stopped walking. Cars stopped moving. Everyone looked up. The ship hung in the air. It was bigger than any building humans had ever made. Gray metal that seemed to eat the light. No sound came from it. It just waited there, like a shark watching a small fish. Similar ships appeared over 20 other major cities around the world at the same time. Tokyo, New York, London, Moscow, Beijing, all watched by these silent visitors. Dr. Jum Kim was eating breakfast when his phone rang. As South Korea's best xenolinguist, someone who studies alien languages, he had trained for this day. But no training could prepare anyone for the real thing. "Dr. Kim, we need you at the National Security Office now," said the voice on the phone. "They're trying to talk to us." 2 hours later, Jun sat in a room with military officers, scientists, and government officials. On a large screen, strange symbols flashed. "They sent these messages to every government at once," said General Wu. "Can you make sense of them?" Jun studied the patterns. "I need more time, but these look like mathematical sequences. They're establishing the communication base." For 3 days, Jun barely slept. He worked with experts from around the world to decode the alien messages. Finally, they had enough to try a response. The aliens called themselves the Kriveri. They agreed to meet with human representatives in a neutral location, an empty field outside Seoul, under their ship. Jun was part of the small team chosen to represent humanity. His hand shook as he walked toward the meeting point. A door opened in the underside of the ship. 3 tall figures walked out. The Kriveri stood nearly 8 feet tall. Their skin was pale blue with a metallic sheen. They had 4 arms and 2 legs. Their faces had no nose, just breathing slits, and their 3 eyes were set in a triangle pattern. They wore no protective gear. Earth's air was fine for them. "We greet the leaders of Earth," said the middle Kriveri. The words came from a small device on its chest that translated its clicks and whistles. "We are the expansion fleet of the Kriveri Dominion." Jun stepped forward. "We welcome you to Earth. We hope for peaceful relations between our peoples." The Kriveri's head tilted slightly. "You are primitive, yet you occupy valuable space. Your system sits at a strategic point in the spiral arm." The human delegation looked at each other nervously. "We have much to learn from each other," said Jun carefully. "There is little you can teach us," replied the Kriveri. "Your technology is crude. Your societies are disorganized. Your weapons are toys." The lead Kriveri touched its wrist device. A hologram appeared between them, a massive creature with metal plates covering its body. Its mouth opened to reveal rows of gleaming teeth that looked like polished titanium. The beast was the size of a tank, but moved with the speed of a tiger. "This is 1 unit of the Untamed," said the Kriveri. "One can destroy your largest military vehicle. We have thousands." The hologram changed to show these beasts tearing through alien cities, buildings collapsing around them. "These are recordings from the 17 worlds that resisted us before accepting their place in our dominion," the Kriveri explained. "Their strongest defenses fell in days." Jun felt cold fear in his stomach, but kept his face calm. "We prefer to discuss trade and cultural exchange, not military matters." The lead Kriveri made a sound that might have been laughter. "Cultural exchange. Your cultures are young and simple, but we will allow you time to understand your situation." The aliens turned to leave. At the last moment, the lead Kriveri looked back. "Study your history, humans. Those who fought us are forgotten. Those who joined us survive, serving the Dominion. You have 3 of your months to decide which you will be." The Kriveri returned to their ship. The human delegation stood in silence, watching the massive door close. Jun looked up at the ship blocking the sun and whispered, "They don't just want our resources. They want our surrender." That night, as world leaders argued about what to do, Jun couldn't sleep. When he finally did, he dreamed of metal teeth tearing through Earth's cities. The beasts had teeth of titanium. and they were coming for them all. 3 months passed quickly. The Criveri ships stayed in Earth's skies, silent and waiting. People tried to live normal lives under their shadow, but nothing felt normal anymore. In New York, the United Nations Security Council met every day. Today's meeting was more heated than usual. We cannot surrender Earth. Topark slammed his hand on the table. As South Korea's representative, he had seen the fear in his people's eyes. The Criveri will not treat us as equals. We will become slaves. And if we fight, we become extinct, said the Russian representative. You saw their war beasts. We have nothing that can stop them. Ta shook his head. There must be a way. We need more time. Far from these arguments, in the coastal city of Busan, a young woman named Su Li watched the news in her small veterinary clinic. The TV showed more Criveri footage, their titanium-toothed beasts destroying cities on other worlds. Su tilted her head. Something about the beasts caught her attention. She paused the video and looked closer. That's strange, she whispered to herself. Her clinic assistant, Han, looked over her shoulder. What's strange? The way these alien beasts move. Look at this one. Su pointed at the screen. See how it turns its head before attacking, and how it shifts its weight before jumping. Han shrugged. So it reminds me of something. Su walked to the back room where her border collie, Dury, was sleeping. It reminds me of how dogs hunt. These aren't just machines. They're animals. That night, Su couldn't sleep. She downloaded every video of the Criveri beasts she could find. She watched for hours, taking notes, comparing their movements to Earth animals. By morning, she had filled a notebook with observations. These alien war machines didn't move like robots. They moved like predators. Su called her old professor at Seoul National University, Dr. Jung Kim, who had been part of the first contact team. Dr. Kim, I need to show you something about the Criveri beasts, she said when he answered. Su Li, I haven't heard from you since you graduated. What about the beasts? I think they're not just machines. They're living creatures with mechanical parts, and if they're alive, they can be understood. There was silence on the phone. Then Jun said, Come to Seoul. Now. 2 days later, Su presented her findings to a small group of scientists and military leaders. She showed videos comparing the Criveri beasts to Earth predators. Look at how they check their surroundings, she explained. Look at how they stalk before attacking. These are hunting behaviors that evolved over time. No engineer would program these small movements. They're instincts. General Wu frowned. What does this matter? They still have titanium teeth and armor. They still destroy everything. It matters, Su said firmly, because animals can be predicted. Animals can be influenced, maybe even tamed. Before anyone could argue, alarms blared throughout the building. Everyone rushed to the main control room. On the large screens, they saw the Criveri mothership moving. They're leaving orbit, said a technician. No, said General Wu. They're repositioning. The Criveri ship stopped over a small uninhabited island in the Pacific Ocean. A beam of light shot down from the ship. When it disappeared, 20 of the titanium-toothed beasts stood on the island's beach. The world watched as the beasts tore through the island. Trees fell. Rock formations crumbled. The ground itself was ripped apart. In 30 minutes, the lush island was reduced to bare earth. Then a message came from the Criveri to every government on Earth. You have seen a small demonstration of the untamed. We have thousands ready to deploy. Your time to decide is over. Surrender Earth's autonomy to the Criveri Dominion or face extinction. You have 24 hours to answer. In the silent room, Topark looked at Su Li. Your theory about these beasts being animals, can it help us fight them? Su looked at the devastation on the screens. I don't know. But if I'm right, these creatures have weaknesses that the Criveri don't want us to know about. Then find those weaknesses, Ta said. You have 24 hours. Outside, Dury whined softly in her carrier. Su reached down to pet her. "It's okay, girl," she whispered. "We'll figure this out." As the countdown began, Sue wondered if understanding animals would be enough to save humanity from the approaching storm. The world leaders argued through the night. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to surrender. By morning, they still had no answer for the Creveri. The deadline passed. 3 hours later, the Creveri ships moved. Not just one, but all of them around the world. People watched in horror as the massive ships positioned themselves over major cities. In Seoul, Jung Kim stood on the roof of the government building, watching the shadow of the ship grow larger overhead. His phone rang. "Dr. Kim, this is General Wu. Get to the bunker now." Jun ran for the stairs. Behind him, a bright light flashed from the ship. The ground shook. The sound was deafening. Jun fell against the wall as the building trembled. When he reached the bunker, he found chaos. Military officers shouted orders. Scientists huddled around screens. General Wu waved Jun over. "They've attacked 20 cities at once," the general said. "But not with their beasts, with some kind of energy weapon." The screens showed the damage. City blocks reduced to rubble. But the destruction was limited to specific targets: military bases, weapons factories, missile sites. "They're disarming us," Jun realized. This is just the beginning. On another screen, a Creveri message appeared. "Your weapons cannot protect you. The untamed will now claim your world. All who resist will perish." Reports flooded in from around the world. The beasts were dropping from the ships, hundreds of them, their titanium teeth gleaming in the sunlight as they fell. In Busan, Su Li was evacuating her veterinary clinic when she heard the terrible sounds of destruction. A beast had landed just blocks away. She hurried the last of the animals into transport carriers, then froze when she heard an unusual cry, part mechanical screech, part animal roar. Instead of running away, Su ran toward the sound, ignoring Han's shouts to come back. She reached an alley and peered around the corner. There it was, a Creveri beast, smaller than the others she'd seen in videos. It limped heavily, dragging one hind leg. Blue fluid leaked from its side. It must have been damaged during the landing. The beast turned, sensing her presence. Its metal jaws opened, showing those terrible titanium teeth. But it didn't charge. It growled, backing against the wall like an injured dog. Su should have been terrified. Instead, she felt a strange certainty. This creature was afraid. And fear was something she understood. She crouched low, making herself smaller, less threatening. She didn't approach but stayed still, watching. The beast watched back. Its 3 eyes, partly mechanical, partly organic, tracked her every move. Sue's phone vibrated. A text from June. "Where are you? It's not safe." She typed quickly. "I found one. A damaged beast. It's alive. June. Not just a machine. Send help, but quietly. I don't want to scare it." 20 minutes later, a military team arrived with June. They surrounded the alley, weapons ready. "Don't shoot unless it attacks," Su ordered. "This is our chance to learn." June stared in amazement. "It hasn't tried to kill you." "It's hurt and scared," Su explained, "like any injured animal." The soldiers used a net launcher to capture the beast. It thrashed and roared but couldn't escape. They loaded it onto a truck and covered it with a special metal cage. As they drove toward a secure facility, Jun studied the beast. "The Creveri said these were just weapons. But you're right, Su. This is a living creature." Su nodded. "And if it's alive, it can be understood, maybe even reached." The beast made a low sound, almost like a whimper. Su moved closer to the cage. "What are you doing?" Jun asked, alarmed. "Testing a theory." Su spoke in a soft, gentle voice, the same tone she used with frightened animals in her clinic. "It's okay. No one's going to hurt you." The beast's frantic movements slowed. Its 3 eyes focused on her face. "You're not just a weapon, are you?" Su whispered. "You're something else." For a moment, the beast seemed to listen. Then it made a different sound, a clicking noise that wasn't mechanical at all, but came from its throat. "Did you hear that?" Sue turned to June, excitement in her eyes. "It's trying to communicate." As they reached the secure facility, June looked thoughtful. "If these beasts can communicate, maybe we're not as helpless as the Creveri think." Outside, the sounds of destruction continued as more beasts tore through the city. But in the truck, Sue had found something important, a first step toward understanding the enemy. 6 months passed. The world had changed. The Creveri controlled most major cities. Their beasts patrolled the streets. People lived in fear. But not everyone had given up. Deep in the mountains outside Seoul, a hidden base housed the growing resistance. Today, a new person was arriving. Hyun climbed out of the camouflaged truck. He was tall and strong with short gray hair. Before the invasion, he had led South Korea's special forces. Now he led something much smaller, but perhaps more important. Dr. Jun Kim met him at the entrance. "Thank you for coming, Commander Ha." "I should have come sooner," Ha said, "but I was trying to save my men." "How many did you bring?" 15. The best fighters left. Ha looked around the base. "But soldiers alone won't win this war." June nodded. "That's why I asked you here. We need your expertise, and we have something to show you." He led Ha through the base. People worked at computers, repaired equipment, or trained with weapons. But what caught his attention were the animals. Dogs of many breeds moved freely through the base, working alongside the people. "What is this?" He asked. Before June could answer, a woman approached them. "Commander Ha, I'm Sue Lee. I was hoping you would join us." He recognized her name. "You're the veterinarian who captured the first beast." "Not captured," Sue corrected. "Communicated with." And that made all the difference. She led them to a large room deep inside the mountain. Inside, in a reinforced cage, was the Creveri beast they had found 6 months ago. It looked healthier now. Its wounds had healed, but something else was different. It seemed calmer. Outside the cage, a border collie sat watching the beast. The dog, Dury, was alert but not afraid. "I don't understand," Ha said. "Watch," Sue told him. She made a hand signal. Dury stood up and walked to the cage. The beast, instead of attacking, moved closer to the bars. The dog and the alien creature stared at each other, as if communicating without words. "How is this possible?" He asked. Sue smiled. "The Creveri think we're primitive because we live alongside animals instead of turning them into weapons. But they don't understand what we've learned over thousands of years, which is, animals aren't just tools. They're partners." Sue petted Dury. The beasts were once normal creatures from other worlds. The Creveri changed them, added metal parts and weapons. But underneath, they're still animals who can feel and connect. I looked skeptical. "How does this help us fight?" June stepped forward. "Show him." They went to another room where a young man worked at a table covered with electronic parts. Jin Park had been an engineer before the invasion. Now he built tools for the resistance. "This is what we've created," Jin said, holding up a small device. "We call it a neural disruptor. It sends out specific sound frequencies that affect the organic parts of the beast's brains, sounds they hate." "Like a dog whistle?" He asked. "Similar, but more complex," Jin explained. "It doesn't hurt them, but it confuses them long enough for an attack." "And how you plan to use these?" Sue smiled. "That's where your expertise comes in, and our other advantage." She pointed to the animals around the base. "Dogs can hear and smell the beasts before we can. They can warn us and help target them." I looked around the room, understanding slowly dawning on his face. "You want to create teams, humans, dogs, and these devices, to fight the beasts." "Yes," Jun said, "but we need someone to train them. Someone who understands tactics and teamwork." Ha walked over to a window. Outside, more dogs were training with resistance fighters. He watched a German shepherd run an obstacle course alongside its human partner. The Creveri think their beasts are superior because they have titanium teeth and metal armor, I said quietly. But our animals have something theirs don't. What's that? Sue asked. I turned back to them. Names, histories, bonds with us. We don't control our animals. We work with them. He walked over to Dury and knelt down. The dog looked at him with intelligent eyes. What's your plan? He asked Sue. First, we train small teams, she explained. Then we test the disruptors in a real fight. If it works, we share the technology with resistance groups worldwide. Huss stood up, his decision made. Let's begin today. The Creveri think they've won. They don't understand what humans and animals can do together. Outside, the sound of Creveri ships echoed across the mountains. But inside the base, for the first time in months, there was hope. 2 weeks after Hayum joined the resistance, Su Li and Jin Park worked late in their underground lab. The captured Creveri beast watched them from its reinforced cage. Dury slept nearby, waking occasionally to check on the humans. I think I found something, Jin said, looking up from his microscope. He had been studying a tissue sample from the beast. Sue moved to his side. What is it? Look at these cells. Jin pointed to the screen beside the microscope. They're not just animal cells. They've been changed. The screen showed strange cells that were half organic, half mechanical. Tiny metal parts were grown into the living tissue. The Creveri didn't just add metal parts to the outside, Jin explained. They changed these creatures from the inside out. Sue frowned. Can the changes be reversed? Not easily. But Jin hesitated. I think I found a weakness. He moved to another table where he had set up special equipment. These modified cells react strangely to certain sound frequencies. Jin turned on a device that made no sound humans could hear. But Dury immediately perked up her ears. In its cage, the beast made a strange whining noise and backed away. Turn it off, Sue said quickly. You're scaring them both. Jin switched off the device. Sorry, but do you see? The frequencies that bother dogs also affect the beasts, but much more strongly. Because of their changed cells. Exactly. Jin looked excited. The Creveri made them stronger, faster, more deadly. But they also made them more sensitive to certain sounds. Sue thought for a moment. Can you make a device that produces these frequencies? Something small we could carry. Already working on it. Jin showed her a small round object about the size of a hockey puck. This prototype should disrupt the beast's neural pathways for about 30 seconds. Enough time to attack or escape. Sue picked up the device, studying it. How many can you make? With the materials we have. Maybe 50. Not enough. It's a start. The door opened, and Haeyun entered with Jun Kim. They looked tired but determined. How's the training going? Sue asked. Better than expected, he said. The dogs learn quickly, especially when they work with the same person every day. Jun nodded. The bond between handler and dog makes all the difference. The dogs want to protect their humans. Sue smiled. That's what the Creveri don't understand. Their beasts obey out of fear or programming. Our animals work with us by choice. She showed them Jin's discovery and the prototype disruptor. He held the small device, looking thoughtful. We need to test this in a real situation, he said finally. That's dangerous, Jun warned. Everything is dangerous now, he replied. But I have a plan. He unrolled a map on the table. The Creveri keep 6 beasts at this outpost near Daejin. It's lightly guarded because they think no one can fight the beasts. You want to attack it? Jin asked, surprised. Not attack. Test. He pointed to locations on the map. 2 teams. Small and fast. We go in, test the disruptors, and leave. No prolonged fight. They discussed the plan late into the night. By morning, they had agreed. In 3 days, they would conduct the first test against the Creveri beasts. As the others left to prepare, Sue stayed behind in the lab. She approached the cage where the captured beast lay sleeping. "I wonder what you were before the Creveri changed you," she said softly. "What world did you come from? Did you have a family? A pack?" The beast opened its eyes, watching her. Over the months, Sue had noticed more and more signs of intelligence in its gaze. On impulse, she tried something new. "Would you like a name?" she asked. "Everyone should have a name." The beast tilted its head, listening. "I'll call you Haru," Sue decided. "It means day in our language. Because you're the beginning of a new day for us." The beast made a soft clicking sound. It wasn't agreement, not exactly. But it wasn't rejection either. Sue smiled. Maybe names had power the Creveri didn't understand. She would find out soon enough, when they faced the beasts in battle for the first time. Night fell over Seoul. The once bright city now sat dark under Creveri control. Only the alien patrols moved freely on the streets. At the edge of the city, shadows moved quietly between buildings. Hayum led 12 resistance fighters, each paired with a dog. They carried only light weapons and Jin's neural disruptors. "Remember the plan," he whispered. "Test the disruptors, then retreat. This is not a battle. It's a test." Suli knelt beside Duri, checking the special vest the dog wore. It held medical supplies and a small camera. "Stay close to me," she told the border collie. Duri licked her hand once, understanding in her intelligent eyes. Jum Kim studied his tablet showing a map of the area. "The Creveri command post is half a mile ahead. Our sources say they keep at least 4 beasts there." The team moved silently through the empty streets. Twice they had to hide as Creveri patrols passed. The dogs remained perfectly quiet, trained not to make a sound. They reached an old shopping district. The Creveri had turned it into a control center. Through his binoculars, he saw alien guards, and in a large pen, 6 beasts with their titanium teeth gleaming under the lights. "More than we expected," he said quietly. "But we stick to the plan." He divided the team into 3 groups. 2 would approach from different sides as a distraction. His group with Sue and Jun would test the disruptors directly on the beasts. "Begin on my signal," he said, checking his watch. 3 minutes. The teams separated. Sue's heart pounded as she followed her through a narrow alley. Duri moved ahead, sniffing for danger. Suddenly, the dog froze, hackles rising. Sue raised her hand, signaling everyone to stop. Too late. Around the corner came a Creveri beast on patrol. Alone, without alien handlers. It saw them immediately. Its 3 eyes glowed in the darkness. Its titanium teeth opened in a silent snarl. "Now," he shouted. Jin pressed the disruptor. The small device activated with a soft hum that humans couldn't hear. The beast stopped its charge mid-step. It shook its massive head as if confused. For 30 precious seconds, the beast stood frozen, fighting against the sound that scrambled its thoughts. Then the effect wore off. The beast roared. A terrible sound, part machine, part animal rage. It charged forward. "Second disruptor," he called. Another team member activated their device. Again, the beast froze. "It works," Sue said, "but we need more time than it gives us." He nodded grimly. "Then we use them in sequence. Keep it confused while we attack." Before they could try this new plan, alarms blared from the Creveri post. Their presence had been discovered. "Fall back," he ordered. But it was too late. 5 more beasts rushed from the Creveri compound, cutting off their retreat. The resistance fighters formed a circle, dogs at their sides, disruptors ready. "Use them when I say," he told them. Not before. The beasts approached slowly, their titanium teeth clicking together as they moved. Behind them came Creveri soldiers with energy weapons. "This is it," Jun whispered. "First real test." The leading beast leaped forward. Now, he shouted. All 12 fighters activated their disruptors at once. The combined effect was more powerful than they expected. The beasts didn't just stop. They whined and backed away, shaking their heads in pain. The Kriveri soldiers looked at each other in confusion. This had never happened before. Phase 2, He called out. The dogs moved forward on command, not attacking but circling the confused beasts, barking and directing them away from their handlers. The resistance fighters used the distraction to attack the Kriveri soldiers. With their beasts temporarily useless, the aliens fell quickly. We need to leave now, June urged. More will come. As they prepared to retreat, Sue noticed something strange. One of the beasts, smaller than the others, was watching Dury with what looked like curiosity rather than aggression. Look, she said to Ha. It's not trying to attack. Ha glanced at the beast. No time to study it. We have our proof. The disruptors work. Now we go. The team disappeared into the night, leaving confused Kriveri and disoriented beasts behind. They had not planned for victory tonight, just a test, but they had achieved something more important. They had shown the beasts could be beaten. Back at the base, the news spread quickly. The unbeatable Kriveri war machines had a weakness after all. What's next? Jin asked as they gathered to discuss the mission. Ha smiled for the first time in months. Now we teach others. We build more disruptors. And we take back our world, one beast at a time. News of the Resistance's success spread quickly. In 2 months, they had taught their methods to groups around the world. More than 20 Kriveri outposts had been attacked. The aliens were confused and angry. Inside their ships, the Kriveri leaders met. They could not understand how the primitive humans were suddenly fighting back against their unbeatable beasts. In their mountain base, the Resistance celebrated another victory. 3 more outposts had fallen last night. But Hayum did not join the celebration. He studied reports with a worried look. What's wrong? Sue asked, sitting beside him. Dury lay at her feet, ever watchful. The Kriveri are changing tactics, he replied. Look at these new images. He showed her pictures of beasts with new metal parts covering their ears and heads. They're adapting the beasts to block our disruptors, he explained. Jin joined them, looking at the images. We need to strengthen the signal, maybe change the frequency. How long will that take? He asked. A week, maybe 2. Ha shook his head. We don't have that much time. The Kriveri are planning something big. He was right. The next day, the Kriveri launched a massive attack on resistance bases worldwide. The modified beasts were no longer affected by the disruptors. They tore through defenses with terrible efficiency. At the mountain base, alarms blared. They've found us, June shouted, running into the command center. At least 30 beasts approaching, all with the new modifications. Ha organized their defense quickly. Evacuate the scientists and medical staff. Fighters with dogs. Form a perimeter. Sue prepared to leave with the other scientists, but stopped. I need to get Haru, she said, turning back. The beast? Leave it, a soldier called after her. But Sue was already running toward the lab where the captured beast was kept. She couldn't explain why, but she couldn't abandon Haru. When she reached the lab, Jin was already there, trying to move Haru's heavy cage. Help me, he said when he saw Sue. We can't leave it for the Kriveri. Together, they struggled with the cage as explosions shook the base. Haru watched them calmly, making soft clicking sounds. The tunnel exit is this way, Sue said, pointing down a corridor. As they pushed the cage, a wall exploded nearby. Dust filled the air. When it cleared, 2 Kriveri beasts stood there, their titanium teeth gleaming. The disruptors won't work on them, Jin said, his voice shaking. Sue pulled out her disruptor anyway. We have to try. But before she could activate it, Jin pushed her aside. Run, he shouted. Get Haru out. I'll hold them off. Jin. No. He didn't listen. Jin ran at the beasts, disruptor in one hand, a small explosive in the other. The beasts pounced. There was a flash, a terrible scream, then silence. Tears ran down Sue's face, but she kept moving. Jin had given his life to save her and Haru. She wouldn't waste his sacrifice. She reached the tunnel exit, where Ha waited with the last defenders. "Jin?" He asked. Sue shook her head and nodded once, understanding in his eyes. After a difficult journey, they reached a new safe location, an old bunker in the countryside. The survivors gathered, tired and heartbroken. They had lost nearly half their people and most of their equipment. "What do we do now?" someone asked. "The disruptors don't work anymore." I looked to Sue for answers. She sat beside Haru's cage, lost in thought. Duri lay next to her, head on her lap. "Jin died saving Haru," Sue said finally. "He understood something I'm only beginning to see." "What's that?" Jun asked. "The beasts aren't our real enemy. The Kriveri are." Sue stood up. "We've been trying to fight the beasts. But what if we could turn them against their masters instead?" "How?" I asked. Sue looked at Haru, who watched her with those strange three eyes. "The Kriveri control the beasts through fear and pain. But there's another way to connect with animals, a way humans have known for thousands of years." "What way?" "Through trust, through bonds." Sue placed her hand on the cage. Haru moved closer, not aggressive, but curious. Through names whispered with respect, not commands shouted with cruelty. I looked skeptical. "You think we can make friends with the beasts?" "Not friends," Sue said. "Partners, like we are with our dogs. The Kriveri would never expect it because they don't understand the power of such bonds." Duri barked once, as if agreeing. In its cage, Haru made the same clicking sound in response. "It's worth trying," Jun said. "We have nothing left to lose." In the weeks that followed, Sue worked day and night with Haru. The captured beast was no longer kept in a cage. Instead, it lived in a special room where Sue spent hours each day. "What exactly are you doing in there?" He asked one evening. "Building trust," Sue replied simply. "The same way humans have tamed animals for thousands of years, with patience, kindness, and respect." I looked doubtful. "These aren't just animals. They're weapons created by the Kriveri." "No," Sue shook her head. "They were animals first. The Kriveri added metal parts and controlled them through pain. But underneath, they remember what they once were." Sue's work with Haru showed promising results. The beast now responded to its name. It took food gently from Sue's hand. It even allowed Duri to sit near it without showing aggression. One day, Jun brought news that changed everything. "The Kriveri are planning a final attack," he said, his face grim. "They're bringing their entire fleet to Earth. They'll burn our cities rather than let us keep fighting." "How long do we have?" He asked. 2 weeks, maybe less." The resistance leaders gathered to plan their response. They had rebuilt some of their forces, but not enough to stop the Kriveri fleet. "We need something they won't expect," he said. "Something that changes the rules of this war." Sue stood up. "I have an idea. But it's dangerous, and you'll think it's crazy." "We're listening," Jun said. "Operation Whisper," Sue began. "We create teams whose job isn't to kill the beasts, but to connect with them, to turn them against the Kriveri." The room fell silent. Then someone laughed. "That's impossible." "Is it?" Sue challenged. "Come with me." She led them to Haru's room. The beast lay on a mat, with Duri sleeping nearby. When Sue entered, Haru raised its head and made a soft clicking sound. "Haru," Sue said gently. "Friend." The beast stood up and walked to her side, like a large, strange dog. The resistance leaders watched in amazement. "How?" he whispered. "The Kriveri never use names," Sue explained. "They use control chips and pain to make the beasts obey. But names have power. They recognize the being behind the weapon." She showed them how Haru now responded to simple commands, how it would back away from someone who showed fear, but approach those who remained calm. Now imagine teams of handlers trained to approach the beasts this way. Sue continued. In the middle of battle, they don't attack. They whisper names, ancient words like friend, guardian, companion, words that mean something to all living creatures. It would be a suicide mission, he objected. For some, yes, Sue admitted, but if even a few succeed, if even a few beasts turn against the Kriveri. June stepped forward. I'm willing to try. Others joined him. By morning, 20 volunteers had formed the first Whisper teams. For 10 days, they trained intensively. Sue taught them everything she had learned from working with Haru. They practiced remaining calm in the face of aggression. They learned the ancient words that had bound humans and animals together throughout history. The day before the Kriveri fleet was due to arrive, he called everyone together. Tomorrow, we launch Operation Whisper, he announced. Regular resistance forces will attack Kriveri positions to create a distraction. The Whisper teams will target isolated beasts first, then move to the larger groups. He looked at the volunteers. Your job is the most dangerous. Many of you won't return, but if you succeed, you change everything. That night, Sue sat with Haru and Duri. Tomorrow will be hard, she told them. But I believe in what we're doing. She remembered Jin's sacrifice, how he had given his life to save Haru. Somehow, she felt he had understood before any of them the true nature of their fight. At dawn, the resistance moved out. From their new base, the Whisper teams headed toward Kriveri strongholds across the region. Each person carried no weapons, only a small pouch containing treats for the beasts and a slip of paper with names written on it. As the sun rose over the mountains, Sue whispered to her team, "Remember, their beasts had teeth of titanium, but ours had names we still whisper. And in the end, that will make all the difference." The sky turned dark as the Kriveri fleet arrived. Massive ships blocked the sun over every major city still standing. This was their final attack. No more warnings, no more chances. In Seoul, the main resistance force, led by Hyun, launched their attack on Kriveri ground positions. It was meant as a distraction, to give the Whisper teams time to work. Sue led her team through the ruins of the city. Duri walked beside her, and Haru followed close behind. The once-enemy beast now moved like a protector, watching for danger. There, June whispered, pointing ahead. 3 Kriveri beasts patrolled the street. They moved with mechanical precision, their titanium teeth gleaming. Remember the plan, Sue told her team. Stay calm. Move slowly. Speak softly. They stepped into the open. The beast spotted them immediately. 3 pairs of eyes locked onto the humans. The largest beast roared a challenge. No one ran. No one showed fear. The Whisper team spread out, each member moving toward a different beast. Sue approached the largest one. In her hand, she held a small piece of dried meat, a peace offering. In her mind, she held a name. Guardian, she said softly. Not a command, but an acknowledgement of the beast's true nature beneath the metal and programming. The beast snarled, confused by prey that didn't run or fight. Guardian, Sue repeated, taking another step closer. The beast's head tilted slightly. Something in the word reached past the Kriveri control. Perhaps it remembered a time before the pain and metal, when it had another purpose on another world. Nearby, Jun whispered to his beast, Protector. The third team member called softly, Companion. For a long, tense moment, nothing happened. The beasts growled, caught between their programming and something older, deeper. Then Haru stepped forward. It made the clicking sound that Sue now recognized as a greeting. The patrol beasts responded with similar clicks. They're communicating, Jun realized. Slowly, carefully, Sue held out the meat. The large beast hesitated, then took it gently from her hand. Guardian, she said again, reaching up to touch its metal-plated head. Throughout the city, Other whisper teams tried the same approach. Some failed, attacked by beasts too fully under Criveri control. But others succeeded. One by one, beasts began to turn away from their Criveri masters. The aliens couldn't understand what was happening. They watched in confusion as their weapons became unresponsive or worse, turned against them. In the command center, he received reports from across the city. "It's working," he told his officers. "Not everywhere, but enough. Now for Phase 2. The most dangerous part of the plan. A small team would board the Criveri command ship to confront their leaders directly. Su, Jun, and he would lead this mission, accompanied by Duri, Haru, and several other turned beasts. They used a captured Criveri shuttle to reach the massive ship overhead. The beasts helped them navigate the alien corridors, avoiding patrols. Finally, they reached the central chamber where the Criveri leaders gathered. Tall, blue-skinned aliens turned in surprise as humans and beasts entered their sacred space. "Impossible," the lead Criveri hissed. "No," Su stepped forward. "Not impossible. Just something you don't understand." The Criveri guards raised their weapons, but stopped when they saw their own beasts standing with the humans. "What have you done to our weapons?" the Criveri leader demanded. "We reminded them of what they were before you changed them," Su explained. "Before the pain and metal and control chips. They are just animals," the Criveri dismissed. "Yes," Su agreed. "And that's what you never understood. Animals aren't just things to be used. They can form bonds stronger than any technology." A step forward. "Your choices are simple. Leave Earth now, or we continue turning your beasts against you, not just here, but on every world you've conquered." The Criveri leader looked at Haru standing protectively beside Su. For the first time, doubt showed in its three eyes. "How?" it asked. "How did you do this?" "With names," Jun said. "With respect. With the understanding that all living things deserve to be seen for what they truly are." As the humans negotiated Earth's freedom, Su knelt beside Haru. The beast that had once been her enemy now pressed its head against her hand in a gesture of trust. Su smiled. "It's the oldest magic humans know. To name something is to know it. To know it is to connect with it." In the years that followed, Earth rebuilt. The Criveri never returned. The beasts that chose to stay became part of Earth's new defense force, working alongside the humans and animals who had given them names and purpose. And when children asked about the war, they were told a simple truth. Their beasts had teeth of titanium, but ours had names we still whisper.